When we think of billionaires buying elections or massive corporations taking over sovereign countries, we usually think of modern history. We picture Wall Street banks, oil tycoons, or tech monopolies secretly pulling the strings behind closed doors. But what if I told you that the greatest, most devastating corporate buyout in human history didn't happen in the 21st century? It happened nearly 300 years ago, in the 1750s. Imagine a single private family, so unimaginably wealthy that their personal assets eclipse the entire Bank of England. A family that controlled the royal mint, decided who sat on the throne, and possessed a financial network so vast that a single piece of paper signed by them could move armies across a continent. They were known as the Jagat Seths, a title granted by the emperor that literally translates to the bankers of the world. But this isn't just a video about how rich they were. This is the story of a fatal mistake. It's the story of how, over a petty insult, this family used their infinite wealth to fund a hostile takeover and accidentally handed the keys of the Indian subcontinent to the British Empire. Welcome to the ultimate story of extreme financial manipulation, betrayal, and a corporate buyout that destroyed a nation. To understand the sheer power of the Jagat Seths, you have to understand the economic muscle of Bengal in the 1700s. Today, the historic region of Bengal is split between modern-day India and Bangladesh, but back then, it was the undisputed economic engine of the planet. Bengal alone accounted for roughly 12% of the world's entire GDP. It was a manufacturing powerhouse, producing the finest silks, cotton textiles, and spices. European nations were practically bankrupting their own treasuries just to buy Bengali goods, and sitting at the absolute center of this golden web was the Jagat Seth family. Originally a family of merchants from Rajasthan, they had migrated to Bengal and built a financial empire that makes modern central banks look like piggy banks. They didn't just loan money, they controlled the entire economy. They ran the royal mint, deciding the value of the currency. They collected the taxes for the government. If you were an emperor in Delhi needing to fund a massive war, you didn't ask your generals. You politely asked the Jagat Seths. They even mastered an ancient system of credit notes called hundis. With a single signature from a Jagat Seth, a merchant could deposit gold in Bengal and safely withdraw it 1,000 miles away. They were untouchable. They were the puppet masters of the Indian economy. But puppet masters only stay in power as long as the puppet obeys the strings. The delicate balance of power shattered in 1756. The old wise ruler of Bengal died, and his 23-year-old grandson, Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowlah, took the throne. Siraj was young, fiercely arrogant, and highly impulsive. He looked at the Jagat Seths and didn't see brilliant economists who kept his kingdom stable and wealthy. He saw a threat to his absolute authority. He wanted their money, and more importantly, he wanted to put them in their place. According to historical accounts, the young Nawab publicly disrespected the head of the family, Mahtab Chand, in open court. Some accounts say he threatened the world's richest banker with physical violence. Others claim he went as far as slapping him across the face in front of the nobility. Whatever the exact nature of the insult, it was a catastrophic blunder. You can overtax the peasants. You can execute your political rivals. But you do not publicly humiliate the man who holds the purse strings of the global economy. The Jagat Seth didn't scream. He didn't declare open rebellion. He was a banker. He simply went back to his massive estate, looked at his ledgers and decided to execute a hostile takeover. He was going to buy a new king. To overthrow the Nawab, the Jagat Seths needed a military force, and they found the perfect, greedy, desperate mercenaries, a struggling foreign trading post known as the British East India Company. It is crucial to understand that at this time, the East India Company wasn't the continent-spanning, unstoppable empire it would eventually become. It was essentially a group of heavily armed British merchants, just trying to secure trading rights and make a profit. They were led by a ruthless, incredibly ambitious man named Robert Clive. The Jagat Seths approached Clive, along with the Nawab's own disgruntled military commander, a man named Mir Jafar. In the shadows, the bankers laid out a simple, devastating contract. They told Mir Jafar, "We will make you the new Nawab of Bengal." They told the East India Company, "We will pay you millions of rupees in pure gold and grant you exclusive tax-free trading rights if you provide the muscle." The bankers literally bankrolled the treason. They paid off the Nawab's generals, bought the silence of the troops, and financed the British marching orders. The impending invasion of Bengal wasn't an act of state warfare. It was a privately funded corporate acquisition. This entire conspiracy culminated on June 23, 1757, at the Battle of Plassey, a day that would permanently alter the course of human history. On paper, it should have been an absolute slaughter. The Nawab had an army of 50,000 men and heavy artillery. The British East India Company had roughly 3,000 men. But the battle was rigged. It was bought and paid for before a single sword was drawn. When a heavy monsoon rain started to fall, the British quickly covered their gunpowder with tarpaulins. The Nawab's artillery did not, and their powder was ruined. Believing the British cannons were also disabled, the Nawab ordered his massive cavalry to charge. But his commander, Mir Jafar, the man paid off by the Jagat Seths, refused the order. His massive chunk of the army just stood still and watched. The young Nawab suddenly realized the terrifying truth. His army didn't belong to him anymore. It belonged to the bankers. Siraj-ud-Dowlah fled the battlefield, only to be captured and assassinated shortly after. The Jagat Seths had won. They had successfully executed a regime change using nothing but their checkbook. But the Jagat Seths made one fatal miscalculation. They thought they had hired manageable mercenaries. They didn't realize they had invited a parasite directly into the bloodstream of India. Once Mir Jafar was installed as the puppet king, the East India Company demanded their payment. And then they demanded more, and more. The British realized that with the Nawab's military effectively neutralized, no one could stop them from just taking everything. The British stopped trading and started looting. They aggressively drained the treasury of Bengal. The very economic engine that the Jagat Seths had spent generations building was ripped apart by unchecked British corporate greed. And what happened to the bankers of the world? Just a few years later, a new desperate Nawab realized the Jagat Seths were a massive liability. Because they had aligned with the now tyrannical British, they were seen as traitors to their own people. In 1763, the Nawab had the leaders of the Jagat Seth family arrested. The wealthiest men on the planet were dragged to the top of a fort in Munger and thrown to their deaths into the Ganges River below. Their vast fortune, accumulated over centuries, evaporated into the hands of the British East India Company. By the late 1800s, the descendants of the bankers of the world were living on tiny government pensions, their incredible wealth nothing but a ghost story. The Jagat Seths leave us with one of the darkest economic lessons in history. They prove that money can indeed buy armies, overthrow kings, and completely rewrite the map of the world. But true power isn't just having the most money in the room. True power is knowing who controls the guns you buy with it. Because when you use your wealth to buy a monster, you shouldn't be surprised when the monster eventually turns around and eats you. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the billionaires who broke history, hit the like button, subscribe. See you in the next one.